Better, better. How about now? There we go. I see my meter going up, so I take it you can hear me now, which is great. So that means nobody heard what I already said. So that's what happens when you do something impromptu. You don't prep yourself or you don't get ready. Uh, Thank you for chiming in. So I appreciate that. As I said before, I figured I wasn't talking to nobody but myself. That I want to come out first and thank Tammy Jean for her show last night and addressing a matter that occurred back in March 26th or 27th of last month on Paul Murray's show. It's a subject that most people try to avoid, do not want to touch it, but it just goes to show the moral courage and fortitude that Tammy has, which impresses me. Those are qualities of a leader when you're able to deal with and not afraid to tackle the uncomfortable and sometimes can be conflicting subject matter that most of us don't want to talk about. So I'm gonna get straight into it because I was one of the people who was highlighted quite a bit last night uh, during that discussion, and give a little more context to what occurred. Now, first of all, I will tell you, I was on the live stream. I was on the panel along with several other people. If you choose to go back and listen to it for yourself, by all means go. And the reason why I say that is not that I'm here to stir the pot, but to address the, as I call it, the silent majority. And what I classify as the silent majority are those who are quick to ignore, those who are quick to defend, those who are quick to let's move on type attitudes. Sometimes in life, we need to hold each other accountable for our actions. And not to say that we cannot forgive, but for us to move on as a group, for us to move on as a society, we cannot be afraid or be fearful of holding one another accountable for our own conduct or their conduct, to say at least. And apparently, what had taken place during this live stream is that several of us were trying to assist Mr. Murray in trying getting a drone connected to a controller. A lot of voices were going on at this time. A lot of talking over each other and everything else. And for myself, I don't know because I was maybe on my laptop on vacation. I did not hear the usage, but when it was played back, it was very clear that the language was used, and I was still concerned about the context. There was a quick explanation of potential or possibly traffic related incident, which I find hard to, I would say, swallow because most people do not go straight to that type of language or, I would say, verbiage uh, when we are in some kind of high stress situation. Usually, if we're in something that catches us off guard, we're at the whoa, WTF, all these type of things, which are normal responses for someone who is in some type of abrupt activity or caught someone off guard. Using racial language is something that is more deliberate. It is more has more of an intent. And if you go back and watch the live stream on that section, you will take notice of the intent of the usage. During which times Mr. Jonathan Jackson was trying to assist Mr. Murray and trying to get him to the next level of getting that controller binded to the drone. And like I said, there was a lot of talking over, so he asked Chuck to just hold on a minute, let me finish, And with Paul, then you can go right ahead. Evidently, this didn't sit well with Chuck, and that led to the use of the racially charged usage of language. It was not just said once, but twice, and that was kind of like to seal the deal for me. That sometimes you can utter something, but when you repeat it, that kind of shows direct intent. The intent, from my experience, the intent was to be harmful. It was meant to marginalize, and it was meant to devalue those it was directed at, either it be Jonathan or even myself. So, from my own experience of dealing with this type of language, there's one thing of being playful. There's one thing of being within, as we say, in a certain community and the slang usage of it. We'll also know the difference when it is intended to be harmful. And there's no way I can address this any other kind of way by re-listening to this and know that it was meant to be harmful, disrespectful, and demeaning. And that is all there's to it. Now, I sat on this for over a week or so because I don't like to come back and feel like I responded based upon to be emotional about it. Secondly, I didn't want this to be hanging over the heads of Captain Ray Kelly's event, the South Florida drone meetup, and have that be the hot topic that everyone was talking about instead of having a good time with fellow drone pilots. So there was a lot of thought that went into this, and a lot of thought that needs to continue to go into this. And just as I said in my initial response when it occurred, sometimes when people tell you who they are, you need to believe them that's who they are. And like I said, there's nothing wrong as far as forgiveness. Like I said, the offender has been forgiven from my perspective, but also don't forget. And that don't forget comes in a lot of different forms, whereas as people more popular say, we keep receipts. So, like I say, the forgiveness is offered. Nothing wrong forgiving for what occurred, but like I say, don't think we're going to forget. And those who choose to think maybe we should just forget about it and move on, that's maybe your perspective, but your viewpoint, and then those who were the information I said the language was directed at may have a totally different view on that. And that goes for any culture or even gender. If it had been something that had been said about a female in the chat that would have been mostly inappropriate, would you still have the same attitude of, well, let's act like it didn't happen and keep moving on? So this is what I'm talking about, is that everyone has a perspective of how something of this magnitude can occur, why it occurred, why does it still occur. So once again, even though you're not the one who is the offender, but you take on the attitude that supports what was said, because you marginalize the individuals and you actually devalue the individuals that it was directed at. And that is something that a discussion I've had with a few people behind the scenes in the last 2 weeks. And I've seen this personally myself growing up. I continue to see it in the workplace. Many of you have probably seen it yourselves. If you have been the subject of such type of conduct, it doesn't always have to be verbal. It could be physical. It could be just in how you are excluded. It just shows that people want to marginalize you or devalue you or your contributions or anything else that you may have to offer. So that's one of the big things I have to put out there, is that when we do have incidents occur, this one had to be a racial one, but even when we have things as the rules given out by the FAA, we are so quick to dig our heels in, so quick to pick a side without even having a real rational conversation on the who, what, where, and why. And that's what's really sad. We have such amount of division within the drone community overall. We have the FPV camp. We have the camera slash GPS camp. We have the RC planes and helicopter camp. And we don't talk to each other. We act like we don't even know each other exists, but we all want to circle the wagons to protect what we have against each other. Now, right now, like I say, that's why I pay attention to some of the other fellow pilots in this hobby. In the hobby, or like myself, a commercial pilot, we all come under the same umbrella as far as the FAA is concerned. And this is why we always need to keep an open channel of communication amongst our different factions within the UAS community. Because it doesn't make much sense for the FPV community to go file a lawsuit without consulting with the GPS camera community or with the RC plane community. Now I've checked out the lawsuits from the FPV community. A little better job than the original lawsuit when the remote ID was coming out. But once again, I went over to the RC plane page on one of their pages. And I'm looking at what the AMA's been doing, and the AMA has not been very vocal about what's going on in their area, but they have definitely been, I would say, pulling their weight as far as getting free as established for their people, giving them a template on how to establish one. So once again, speaking as one who's basically under the GPS camera uh, part of the UAS community, we need to start stepping up. There are some organizations out there like the Drone Alliance organizations and things of that nature. We need to become involved, even no matter if you're a hobbyist or you're a commercial operator like myself. You need to be involved. You need to make sure your voice is heard, make sure it is counted when necessary. Some of these places have direct links to your local representatives, so you can send that information in. And some of us out there have our hands in multiple pots. We have people who fly FPV, who fly GPS camera drones, and even RC planes. So this is not just for one community. It's not just for another community. We all fall under that umbrella of UAS operators. That, if in itself, if that needs to be changed, we all need to agree it needs to be changed across the board. Because I know a lot of people in the FPV community want to be excluded from being considered under FAA regulations. But like I said, what's going to make what you do any different, any safer than what I do or what RC planes do, who primarily fly at approved fields? When you have a designated area for your flight operations, you can't be much safer than that because nobody else is in your airspace or should be in your airspace. So that's what I'm saying, that when we go after the FAA or try to challenge the FAA from a single point, we lose credibility, we lose support amongst the whole UAS community, because the FAA says, we don't hear nothing from the GPS guys. Your argument is different from the RC plane guys. So why are we going to write a whole different rule book just for you or just for them? And that's why I say we need to become more unified, to be able to really have a say so or really have an influence. So, like I say, I wanted to address that. I wanted to give a shout out to Tammy Jean for her courage, for bringing a sensitive topic to the forefront. Uh, like I say, forgiveness is there, but it's not going to be forgotten. And it's not the first incident. There have been other people who've had to have these type of scenarios brought before them, and they have dealt with it in their own way. The drone community is no different than our overall society. We're just a microcosm of our society. So you're going to have individuals who hold certain attitudes about certain individuals, regardless. That's just life. But when you espouse your views or your biases in a format that is pretty much supposed to be called a safe area for UAS operators to come into, that is troubling. So once again, this is Dre. I'm not going to keep you guys long. I never do, because I don't want to sit there and preach and beat you over the head about something. But I just want to just give a little context to what happened, what occurred. Give praise out to Tammy Jean again for her moral courage to bring it forth and to just let everybody know, let's treat each other the way you would want to be treated. Even if you think you have been you slighted someone or was inappropriate with someone, take the courage to bring it to their attention and clear the air. There's no need for people to go to the extremes to express their displeasure and what someone might have said, or you misinterpret what they said. So once again, you guys have a great day. Today is Friday, leading to the weekend. Get out there. If you have good weather where you're at, fly as much as you can, because the weather is unpredictable. It's crazy this time of year between storms and hurricanes and whatever else, the tornadoes. It seems we gotta get in where you can get in. So, as I say, hang on, enjoy the ride. Please subscribe if you choose so, and let's hope we can go forward with a clean conscience, with a clear understanding that everyone is valued, everyone is important in this community. Thank you.